No one expected a human to change the fate of an alien empire. Least of all him. His name was Hale, a human security worker stationed on the outer edge of space. He wasn't a soldier. He didn't command fleets. He was a quiet man who fixed broken panels and checked docking bays. He sent most of his pay back to Earth to support his mother, who always worried but never asked too many questions. Life was ordinary, and he liked it that way. Until the day everything changed. Was repairing a security panel near the docking ring when the first alarm sounded. A fleet of sleek, glowing ships appeared outside the station, their insignia blazing across the metal walls. The Empire. Every alien froze. Traders dropped to their knees. Even the machines seemed to hum in fear. They ruled hundreds of worlds. They were legends, their Empress a living myth said to be untouchable. No ordinary creature could ever approach her without dying, and yet today she walked among them. Empress moved gracefully, flanked by her elite guards. Her skin shimmered like liquid light, her eyes glowing softly like stars. Every head turned. Even the bravest soldiers whispered prayers under their breath, stayed hidden behind a wall, trying not to breathe too loudly, trying not to die in the middle of history. Then the corridor shook. A rip in the air tore open reality itself, a black void spilling into the station. From it came the assassins, tall, dark figures wrapped in deadly armor, their weapons humming with energy that could cut through walls. They didn't run. They didn't negotiate. They fired. The Empress's guards reacted too slowly. One of them fell in a burst of blue fire. Another went down screaming. Aliens screamed. Humans screamed. Chaos exploded like a storm. And the Empress froze. For one terrible heartbeat, she stood exposed. One assassin leveled his weapon at her heart. Didn't think, he didn't hesitate, he ran. He had no armor, no powers, no hope beyond the instinct to protect. But he ran anyway. His boots slammed against metal floors. He shoved bystanders aside. Energy bolts scorched past his skin, burning flesh, leaving marks he would remember forever. Pain screamed in his arm, but he ignored it. One thing mattered, her life. The assassin fired. Threw himself into the path of the energy. The blast tore into his chest, throwing him into the Empress with terrifying force. Pain exploded across his body. The world tilted. His vision blurred, but he was alive, just barely. The Empress gasped. She knelt beside him, her glowing hands pressed against the wound, desperately trying to stop the blood that poured from his body. Her guards were recovering, killing the assassins with precision and speed. The danger was over. But the human, the fragile, soft, ordinary human, was dying. "Why did you run toward death?" she whispered, her voice trembling, broken human words she had learned in diplomacy. Coughed, blood touched his lips. "Didn't want anyone to die today," he gasped. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter, reflecting disbelief and wonder. "You knew I was the Empress," she said. Tried to nod, "Yeah. And you still chose to die for me." He gave the faintest smile. Someone had to. Medical drones arrived, lifting him gently while sealing his wounds with shimmering energy. The Empress refused to leave his side until the very last second, her hands stained red with his blood. Cameras caught everything. The entire empire would see it. A human, a weak mortal creature, had saved the life of their immortal ruler. For the first time in centuries, the people felt something they had almost forgotten. Debt, loyalty, gratitude. And the Empress, she felt something new. Connection. As slipped into unconsciousness, she whispered, almost to herself, "In saving my life, you have bound your fate to the throne of stars." That night, a single human became the center of an empire, and nothing, not even centuries of alien history, would ever be the same. Woke slowly, the world spinning like a storm. His head throbbed, his chest ached, and yet he was alive, somehow impossibly alive. He tried to sit up and almost fell back. Lights glimmered softly above him. Soft humming filled the room. His body was wrapped in shimmering healing fields, energy flowing over him like water, knitting flesh and bone. He realized he was not in any hospital he had ever known. This was something else, alien, magnificent, and impossibly clean. "Ah, you're awake," a gentle voice said. Turned and saw her Empress. She stood near the entrance, glowing softly. Her presence made the room feel warmer, safer, yet heavier, as if the air itself bowed to her. "You're alive," she said simply. No titles, no ceremony, just words filled with awe. I think so," whispered, his voice weak. "Feels like someone shot me with a cannon." She moved closer, her glowing hands brushing the healing field controls. "You should have died. Any ordinary creature would have, and yet here you are." Tried to smile. "I guess I'm not ordinary." Her eyes softened. "No, you are extraordinary. You saved me, and the Empire will never forget it." He looked around. The room was filled with devices he could not name. Screens showed fleets, systems, planets. Reports flickered faster than he could read. "The Empire is watching me?" he asked. She nodded. "Every world knows what you did. Every sees your courage. You risked your life when none would have. The people call it heroic." Swallowed hard, he had never thought of himself as a hero. He had just acted, just ran. Fear and instinct had pushed him forward, and now the galaxy was watching him. "Heroic," he repeated, the word tasting strange on his tongue. "Yes," said, stepping closer. Her glow seemed to pulse with emotion. "But more than that, you have bound your life to mine. A human has pledged his life to the Empress of the that has meaning beyond our words." Felt a weight in his chest. He wanted to shrug it off, say it didn't matter, but he knew, somehow, he could not. He had touched something eternal, something vast, something that could not be broken. What now?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated, a strange uncertainty crossing her alien features. "The Empire wishes to honor your courage. There are traditions, ancient ones. One of them is called the Royal Union." Blinked. "Union, you mean marriage?" His eyes glimmered with a mix of pride and hesitation. "Yes, it is not a choice lightly offered, but to save the Empress is a debt so great that the sea only one proper way to repay it." Felt his stomach twist. He had risked his life without thought. He had no idea this was coming. He was a human, alone in a galaxy that spoke in alien laws and myths he barely understood. I can't just." "You can refuse," said softly. "But the Empire may not understand refusal. You saved me. They may see any denial as a betrayal, not of me, but of them." The room was silent for a long moment. Looked at her, glowing like a star, her hands trembling slightly, as if the act of speaking weighed as heavily on her as it did on him. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted. "I didn't even know I'd survive today. How can I promise anything else?" She stepped closer and placed her hand lightly over his, glowing fingers brushing human skin. "Courage does not require readiness. It only asks choice. You chose to save me. That choice changed everything. The rest we will face together." Felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. Fear mingled with awe, responsibility mixed with wonder. He was human, small, fragile, yet now he carried the weight of an empire on his shoulders. Outside, the citizens celebrated. Ships lit the skies. Messages streamed across every system. A human had acted with valor the likes of which no had seen. And in the quiet room, the Empress and the human who should have died looked at one another, bound by fate and choice, caught between worlds and destinies far larger than either had imagined. Exhaled. "Okay, I'll try," he whispered, not fully understanding what he agreed to. His lips curved in a small, genuine smile, the first she had shown to anyone in centuries. "That is all I ask." For the first time, a human felt not just survival, but belonging. And 1,000 worlds began to look at him differently, had never imagined a human life could change an empire. Now he was living it. The palace was a world of impossible light and beauty. Towers glowed with energy, gardens floated in midair, and corridors shimmered with colors that humans could barely name. Everywhere he looked, alien faces stared, not with fear but with awe. Whispers followed him wherever he went. The human who saved the Empress, the human chosen by fate, the human brave enough to face death. He felt like a child in a cathedral, overwhelmed and unworthy. Yet walked beside him as if he were equal, her hand sometimes brushing his, glowing warmth that reassured him in ways words could not. "Why do they celebrate me?" asked, his voice small. "Because," said, "you remind them what courage truly is. A human is fragile. You have no shields, no centuries of training, no immortal power. Yet you ran toward death for me. That is worth more than armies." Swallowed, feeling the weight of her words. I'm just a human. I did what anyone would do, he thought. But deep inside, he realized something new. Maybe humans could mean more than anyone believed. The first challenge came quickly. The council summoned him, a room of elders taller than it ever seen, their skin rippling with subtle energy, their eyes sharp and unreadable. Every motion, every word seemed measured, and all of them were staring at him. "You have entered our world," said one elder voice like rolling thunder. "And you have saved the life of our Empress. Your courage is undeniable. Yet, are you prepared to accept your place beside her, to become part of our empire?" Shook his head slightly. I don't know, I'm just a human. I don't understand your rules, your ways. I barely understand myself." Stepped forward. "He may be human," she said softly, "but he has something no can teach. He has heart. He has choice. And he has already proven that his life is tied to mine, whether he understands it or not." A murmur ran through the council. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were fragile. Humans were dangerous in a strange way because they acted on instinct and courage rather than law. And yet this human had risked his life for the Empress herself. That was impossible to ignore. The council's discussion lasted hours. Sat silently trying to learn what he could from gestures, whispers, and glowing holograms. He was tired, hungry, confused. But one thing kept him steady, his presence, quiet, warm, steady. She did not expect perfection. She only expected his truth. After the council, they walked together through the floating gardens. Alien flowers glimmered in soft light, petals moving like they breathed, touched one carefully. It smelled faintly of spice and warmth. "I don't belong here," he whispered. "I'm not like you, not like any of this." Looked at him, her glowing eyes soft. "You are different. That is why I trust you. That is why I need you. This empire is vast, but it has forgotten humility. It has forgotten choice. It has forgotten courage. You remind us of all of that." Felt something stir in his chest, a sense of belonging he had never known. He was small. He was human, but he mattered. He mattered to her, and maybe he could matter to more. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the palace. He barely had time to react before guards surrounded them. Another threat. Shadows moving like smoke, creatures that should not exist, infiltrating the palace. His heart leapt. Here we go again. His voice was calm, controlled. "Stay close." Ran, instincts firing before thought. He was still fragile, still human, still nothing compared to the power around him. And yet, he did not hesitate. He moved toward danger again, protecting as if he had done nothing else his entire life. The shadows struck and the palace trembled. Energy flashed, lights flickered, and creatures screamed in voices that shook the soul, yet somehow found a rhythm with the chaos. A step, a duck, a shove, his human instincts moving faster than anyone expected. And just as before, he saved her. When the chaos ended, grasped his arm, her voice shaking. "Every time, you risk everything for me." I don't know why," admitted, exhausted, bloodied from cuts and burns, yet alive. "I guess it's just what I do." Her eyes glowed brighter. "No, human, it is what makes you extraordinary, and it is why the Empire will never let you go. You are not just a protector. You are part of us now, part of me, part of our history." Looked up at the floating towers, at the impossible gardens, at the alien stars above him. For the first time, he felt the weight of destiny. Fragile, human, but perhaps in this moment capable of changing the course of an empire. And that realization scared him and thrilled him all at once. Had survived 2 attacks. He had faced assassins and shadow creatures, and each time he had risked his life without hesitation. Yet nothing prepared him for what came next, the politics of an empire. The council was not a battlefield of weapons. It was a battlefield of words, tradition, and unspoken rules. Every member held power older than could imagine. To them, a human, fragile, mortal, inexperienced, was an anomaly, and they did not welcome anomalies lightly. Entered the grand chamber, feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes upon him. The ceiling stretched into glowing infinity, carved with symbols that pulsed like living stars. He clutched his hands together. Every instinct told him to run. Every instinct whispered that he did not belong here, But one thought was louder than all, trusted me. One elder, his skin a deep, flowing silver, leaned forward. Human, he said, voice low and measured, you have saved the Empress. That act cannot be, yet the Union, it is not a trivial matter. The Empire watches, the Empire judges. Will you take her hand knowing the consequences? His heart raced. Consequences? He asked, his voice small. The Union is more than ceremony, another elder said. Her voice was melodic, sharp. It binds not just life and soul, but responsibility, loyalty, and command. You will be part of decisions that span worlds. You will be expected to act as one with the Empress in matters of war, of justice, of life and death. Swallowed hard. I'm just a human. I don't even know your laws, your ways. I've never commanded anyone. Stepped closer, her glow warm and steady. No one expects you to know everything. Courage, heart, choice, these are more important than laws. You have shown all of them. That is why you are here. He looked at her, eyes wide. The weight of the Empire pressed on his shoulders. One human, alone, could not possibly navigate this world, and yet he had already begun. The elders whispered among themselves. Some frowned, some nodded. He is fragile, one said. But his choices are remarkable. Perhaps this is what we needed, a reminder that courage is not measured in centuries or strength. Felt a strange mix of pride and terror. I don't want to fail, he said quietly. I don't want to betray your trust or yours, Empress. Reached out and touched his hand. You will not fail, not because you are perfect, but because you are human. Your choices come from heart, not ambition. That is why we trust you. That is why the Empire will trust you. Even as her words comforted him, a new urgency struck. Messengers arrived, bringing news from distant worlds, rebellions, tensions, trade disputes, and military threats. Decisions had to be made. Plans had to be chosen. And for the first time realized something terrifying. He was part of it now. The council presented him with the first choice. A planet on the edge of the Empire was under threat from pirates. Soldiers could fight, but the planet had requested human oversight. They trusted human reasoning for negotiation. The responsibility fell on. He stared at the holographic map. Tiny dots of fire marked the attacks. Ships, colonies, lives, all balanced on a decision he had never been trained to make. He wanted to panic. He wanted to run. But then he remembered the corridor on the station, the blast meant for, the choice he had made to run toward death. If he could face death without hesitation, perhaps he could face this too. He took a deep breath. We negotiate first, he said quietly. We try to save lives before blood is spilled. Sighs glowed softly. Yes, that is human wisdom. The council murmured. Some were skeptical, some impressed. But none could deny the courage it took to make a choice that risked failure. A human, fragile and untrained, had just centuries of calculation. As the meeting ended, stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the glowing city of the capital world. The stars stretched endlessly above him. He was human, small, fragile, yet now his choice mattered. The Empire would follow it. The lives of countless beings rested on decisions he would make. And for the first time, he understood something vital. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was the act of standing tall even when the weight of a galaxy threatened to crush you. He looked at standing beside him, glowing like a living star. I'll do my best, he whispered. Her smile was soft but proud. That is all I ask. Your heart is enough, always enough. And for the first time in centuries, the Empire saw not just a protector, but a leader, born from the courage of a single human who dared to stand alone. Thought the council's decision was the hardest challenge he would face. He was wrong. Days after the first negotiations, a new problem arose, one that no strategy or plan could easily solve. The Empire had powerful enemies, creatures who thrived on fear and chaos. One of them had infiltrated the palace itself. Whispers spread, a traitor walks among us. Felt the weight immediately. The council demanded answers. Advisors suggested he stay safe, but could not sit idly. He had already learned that human courage meant standing even when the world told you to cower. I have to see this through, he told. Her glowing eyes searched his, concern written in every line of her face. You are fragile human, she warned. Do not let your heart rush you into danger. I can't let anyone harm you, not again. She looked down, a soft sigh escaping her lips. Then I will go with you. Together they moved through the palace, alert to every shadow. The corridors gleamed with alien light, but the shadows were darker than usual. Every step felt heavier. Every turn felt uncertain. His human instincts were sharp, sharper than anyone expected. He noticed things: the mist, the slight shift of a floor panel, the faint hum of alien devices hidden behind walls, the subtle whisper of movement that should not exist. Then the attack came. A group of traitors emerged, their weapons glowing with stolen energy. Barely had time to react. He pushed behind him, taking the first strike himself. Pain erupted in his shoulder, but he gritted his teeth and fought. His hands were untrained, his moves awkward, yet somehow effective. Humans had something no did: adaptability, creativity, and sheer unpredictability. The battle was brief but intense. Together and fought, their synergy growing with each moment. She moved with grace and power while he moved with instinct and courage. Every blow he took, every risk he made saved lives. Every decision mattered, every heartbeat counted. When the last traitor fell, sank to his knees, exhausted and bleeding. His body ached, yet his spirit burned. Knelt beside him, her glowing hands moving over his wounds. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice soft, almost fragile. "Again." "I couldn't let it happen again," said his voice, trembling. "I couldn't lose you." Her eyes glimmered, bright with unspoken emotion. For the first time, felt the depth of her trust, the fragility of the bond forming between them. He realized then that the royal union was not just about ceremony or politics. It was about heart, about courage, about choice. Over the next days, the palace changed. They watched him differently. Children waved as he passed. Soldiers nodded with respect. Even the council seemed uncertain how to treat a human who could stand alongside the Empress in battle and decision alike. Struggled with the attention. Humans were not born for adoration, for worship. He wanted to stay humble, to remember who he was, but reminded him, humility does not diminish courage, it amplifies it. And you have proven your heart human, that is enough. Late one night he stood on the balcony overlooking the glowing city beside him. Stars stretched endlessly above, alien constellations shimmering with light. Breathed deeply. "I never thought I'd be here," he admitted. "I never thought a human could matter this much." "You matter," said simply. "You matter more than you know, not because of what you did, but because of who you are. Courage, loyalty, heart, these are human gifts, rare and precious to us." Felt something he had never felt before: belonging. He was human, yes. Fragile, yes. Yet he was no longer alone. He had a place beside the Empress. He had a role in the Empire. He had a purpose that transcended fear. But he also knew this: trials would not stop. Enemies would come. Challenges would rise. He would be tested again and again. And every time he would stand. Not because he was perfect. Not because he was strong, but because he was human. Because a human had saved the Empress. And because a human could choose courage when the galaxy demanded it most. Looked at her glow illuminating his tired face. He smiled, weakly but sincerely. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Her hand found his. "Together," she whispered. And for the first time, truly understood what it meant to be more than human. He was a protector, a partner, and a beacon of hope for a galaxy that had forgotten the power of courage. Thought he understood courage. He was wrong. Weeks after the palace attack, news arrived that a neighboring star system had declared war on the Empire. Entire fleets were mobilizing. Worlds trembled. Civilizations would fall if the Empress's forces failed. For the first time, felt the weight of not just one life, but thousands resting on his choices. He stood beside on the balcony of the palace. Below, the glowing city pulsed with light and life. Above, stars shimmered like scattered jewels. Yet neither beauty nor wonder could ease the pressure in his chest. "They will attack," he said quietly. "Thousands of lives depending on our choices." His eyes glimmered, soft but firm. "And we will make the right choice, together. You have already proven that your courage can guide us when nothing else can." Swallowed, trying to steady his shaking hands. "I'm just a human," he whispered. "I'm fragile, I'm not ready." She placed her hand on his shoulder. "Readiness is not courage, choice is. You have chosen before in impossible moments, and you will choose again. That is enough. The battle strategy meeting began. The generals, towering and glowing, presented countless options: attacks, defenses, blockades, fleets, and weapons of unimaginable power. Charts and holograms flickered faster than could comprehend. His human mind raced, trying to absorb everything, feeling small and inadequate. Said softly, "Remember what makes humans different. We calculate, we follow rules, but humans act on instinct, heart, and risk. Trust yourself." A part of him wanted to run. Another part wanted to hide, but he could not. He could not let fear decide. Lives depended on action. And for the first time, he understood the depth of responsibility he had embraced when he saved, not just as Empress, but as a leader, as a symbol, as someone who believed in him. He suggested a plan. A small fleet would distract the enemy while diplomacy and targeted strikes prevented wholesale slaughter. It was risky. It could fail. But it relied on human adaptability, unpredictability, and courage. The generals murmured, some skeptical, some intrigued. One elder leaned forward. "A human strategy." "Yes," said firmly. "It is his choice, and we will follow him. I trust him." His heart raced. He could feel the eyes of the Empire on him, thousands of worlds waiting for a human to lead them. Fragile, mortal, untrained. Yet here he was, standing taller than any ever had, simply because he chose courage. The day of battle arrived. Stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his human hands on controls that no human had touched before. Stood beside him, calm, radiant, steady. The stars outside were dark with the approach of enemy fleets. Then it began. Energy streaked across space, ships moved with terrifying speed, explosions lit the darkness like deadly fireworks. For a moment, panic surged in his chest. But then he remembered the corridor, the first blast that could have killed the choice he had made. He drew in a steadying breath. "You can do this," whispered. His fingers moved over the controls with instinct and courage. He gave commands. Decisions came fast. Risks were taken. Each choice was human, unpredictable, daring, and decisive. And the impossible happened. The enemy faltered, their fleets divided, their attacks scattered. Human intuition, combined with power, turned the tide. Hours later, the battlefield was quiet. The fleet remained intact. The enemy had retreated. Lives were saved, worlds were spared, sank into his chair, exhausted but alive. Knelt beside him, her glow bathing him in warmth. "You did it," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You saved countless lives, you led an empire." Shook his head, disbelief in his eyes. I'm just a human." "You are extraordinary," said, her fingers brushing his hand. "Courage is not measured by species, it is measured by heart, and yours is unmatched." For the first time understood. Humans were fragile, yes. Limited, yes. But courage, choice, and heart could defy even the greatest powers of the galaxy. He had not only saved the Empress, he had saved thousands. He had changed history. As they looked out at the stars, realized something profound. He belonged among them. Not because he was strong or immortal or powerful, but because a human could choose to stand, even when all hope seemed lost. And that choice made him extraordinary,